Sometimes, the truth about someone does not come out in one dramatic moment. It comes out slowly. A conversation feels different. Something they say no longer matches what they do. An excuse that used to comfort you stops working. A pattern you once brushed aside becomes harder to ignore. And the strange part is, they may not have suddenly changed. You are just seeing differently now. You may even ask God, "Why did I not see this sooner?" Sometimes the signs were already there, but you were not ready to call them what they were. Because when God begins bringing truth into the light, confusion does not stay comfortable for long. Things you once explained away become harder to ignore. And one of the first things that starts happening is this. When confusion starts becoming clear for a long time, all you could say was, "Something feels off." Maybe a conversation left you unsettled, but by the next day, you were wondering if you had overreacted. Maybe they said something hurtful and then acted so normal afterward that you questioned your own interpretation of what happened. Maybe they were warm one day and distant the next, and you kept searching for a reason that would make it all make sense. They are stressed. They have been through a lot. They probably did not mean it that way. Some of that may even have been true, but eventually something changes. You stop seeing isolated moments and begin seeing what connects them. You notice that promises are made easily and forgotten quietly. You notice that apologies often appear after consequences, but the same behavior keeps returning. You notice how much energy you spend trying to figure out what they really mean, instead of simply being able to trust what they say. And suddenly, what used to feel like vague confusion has a name. Ephesians chapter 5, verse 13 says, "Everything exposed by the light becomes visible." Light does not always create something new. Sometimes it simply lets you see what was already there. That may be what is happening. Not that this person suddenly became different. You are becoming more willing to see clearly. And once that happens, something else begins to change. When patterns speak louder than promises, there may have been a time when one good conversation could reset everything for you. They explained themselves, and you felt better. They promised to work on it, and you imagined things would finally be different. They said, "I understand now." They said, "I care about you." They said, "It will not happen again." And perhaps they meant it in that moment. But eventually, you begin asking a different question. Not, "What did they say?" but, "What keeps happening?" That shift matters. A person may sincerely want to communicate better and still repeatedly avoid hard conversations. They may mean it when they say they respect your boundaries and still keep testing those boundaries when respecting them becomes inconvenient. They may care about you and still be unwilling to do what healthy love requires. Sincerity matters, but sincerity is not consistency. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 7 that a tree is recognized by its fruit. Fruit takes time. And when God is helping you see someone more clearly, you often become less impressed by the promise and more attentive to what the relationship continually produces. The words may describe what they hope to become. The pattern shows you where they are right now. And once you begin seeing the pattern, something else happens. The explanations that once gave you relief stop working the way they used to. When the excuses stop bringing peace, you tell yourself they are busy, but somehow they keep finding time for the things they truly prioritize. You tell yourself they just need more time. Then you realize you have been saying that for months. You tell yourself they do not know any better, but you have already had the conversation more than once. And eventually, you recognize something uncomfortable. The explanation is no longer helping you understand reality. It is helping you tolerate it. That does not mean compassion was a mistake. People have wounds. People struggle. People need grace. But grace was never meant to become a place where truth is not allowed to enter. Maybe they really are afraid. Maybe they really do have a difficult past. Maybe trust, communication, commitment, anger, or responsibility genuinely is hard for them. Their struggle may be real, but so is the effect it is having on you. There comes a point when you can say, I understand why this may be difficult for you, but I also have to be honest about what your choices are doing. That is not cruelty. That is clarity. And sometimes the truth God is showing you is not only about them, it is about what this relationship has been producing in you. When you start noticing who you are becoming, who are you becoming around this person? Are you more peaceful? Or are you constantly trying to read the room? Do you feel free to speak honestly? Or do you rehearse everything first because you are afraid of how they might respond? Do you feel secure? Or are you checking your phone, replaying conversations, and searching for reassurance? Maybe you used to be direct, but now you walk on eggshells. Maybe you used to trust your own judgment, but now every disagreement ends with you wondering whether you are too sensitive. Maybe you tell your friends that everything is fine because explaining what is really happening would force you to hear it out loud. Sometimes we become so focused on figuring out who another person is that we stop noticing who we are becoming beside them. Galatians chapter 5 speaks about the fruit of the Spirit: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. That does not mean a godly relationship will never feel difficult. Every meaningful relationship will have uncomfortable conversations and seasons that require patience. But there is a difference between walking through difficulty with someone and slowly losing yourself just to keep the relationship functioning. Maybe you realize, I spend more time recovering from this relationship than enjoying it. Or, I am constantly trying to become easier to love. Or maybe you simply notice how tired you have become. That awareness is not something to fear. It may be one of the ways God is helping you pay attention to your own heart again. If God has been showing you things you can no longer unsee, but you are afraid that by tomorrow, loneliness or emotion may make you question that clarity again, I created The Still Point, a 30-day devotional for the woman who is waiting. Each day is designed to help you become still enough to hear God clearly and stay grounded in what He is showing you, instead of letting someone else's choices control your peace. You can find it in the pinned comment or the first link in the description, because sometimes the next thing that becomes clear is the part we resist the most. When you see what you have been protecting, sometimes we are not only protecting a person, we are protecting a story. The story of who we believed they were. The story of what we believed the relationship would become. The future we had already pictured. Maybe you prayed about this person and believed they would remain in your life. Maybe you told people that things were finally different. Maybe you imagined holidays, a home, marriage, children, ministry, or simply a future where you would no longer have to start over. And now, seeing the relationship clearly threatens more than the relationship itself. It threatens the future attached to it. That is why you may recognize immediately when something is unhealthy in a friend's relationship, yet find 10 explanations for the same behavior in your own. It is easier to see clearly when the truth will not cost you anything, but when the truth may cost you someone you love, a dream you carried, or years you invested, clarity becomes emotionally expensive. Maybe you are not protecting them. Maybe you are protecting yourself from grief. Because admitting what is happening might also mean grieving what you thought was going to happen. And sometimes denial feels safer than grief for a while. But God does not bring truth into the light to humiliate you. Jesus said in John chapter 8, "You will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Freedom comes through truth, but truth can hurt before it frees. It can disappoint you. It can rearrange plans. It can make you question decisions you once felt certain about, and you may need time to grieve that. You do not have to pretend clarity feels good just because clarity is good. Sometimes seeing clearly breaks your heart before it gives your heart somewhere healthier to stand. And eventually, another change begins to happen. You stop feeling peaceful simply because nothing is being confronted. When peace starts requiring honesty, there is a kind of relief that comes from avoiding reality. You decide not to bring it up. The room becomes calm again. No one is arguing because you stopped asking the question. You tell yourself, "I am just going to give this to God." But underneath the silence, nothing has actually been resolved. Calm and peace are not always the same thing. Sometimes the relationship feels peaceful only because you have learned which truths you are not allowed to say. Real peace can survive honesty. It does not require you to shrink your questions until someone else feels comfortable. It does not require you to pretend something does not hurt. And it does not require you to call confusion faith because the truth frightens you. James chapter 3 describes wisdom from above as pure and peaceable. Biblical peace does not require hiding what is true just to keep everything calm. Sometimes you notice this even in the way you pray. At first, "God, please make this work." Then, "God, please change them." And eventually, "God, help me see clearly." Even if what you show me is not what I wanted. That prayer feels different because now you are no longer asking God only for the outcome you prefer. You are asking Him for truth. And sometimes peace begins returning not because the other person changed, but because you finally stopped exhausting yourself trying to make reality say something different. And when that happens, clarity begins changing something very practical: what you are willing to accept. When clarity changes what you are willing to accept, this is where you begin noticing that something in you has shifted. Not because you have every answer, not because you suddenly feel no pain, but because what once felt normal no longer feels normal. A conversation that used to leave you apologizing for having needs now makes you stop and think. A broken promise that you once would have explained away now tells you something. A boundary you were afraid to state becomes easier to say. You stop trying to convince someone to understand things they have already been given many opportunities to understand. And perhaps one of the biggest changes is this: you stop believing your clarity is meaningless unless the other person agrees with it. They may tell you that you are overreacting. They may remember the relationship differently. They may become kinder when they sense you pulling away. They may promise again that things will change, and maybe they will. But you no longer need their permission to take your own experience seriously. That is growth. You stop asking, "Do they agree that this hurts me?" And you begin asking, "Is this healthy? Is this honest? Is this producing the kind of life God is calling me toward?" Sometimes truth leads to an honest conversation. Sometimes it leads to stronger boundaries. Sometimes it reveals something that can be repaired through humility, repentance, forgiveness, and consistent change. And yes, sometimes it shows you that a relationship cannot continue in the same way. The point is not that every uncomfortable revelation means you leave. The point is that once you see clearly, you cannot keep participating exactly as though you do not. Sometimes, God showing you the truth about someone does not mean He is declaring that person evil. It may simply mean you are finally seeing them without the filter of who you hoped they would become, without the filter of who you needed them to be, without the filter of what losing them would cost. And that can hurt because you may still love them. You may still see good in them. You may still remember moments that were real and beautiful. Truth does not always erase affection. Sometimes it simply asks affection to stop overruling wisdom. You can hope for someone and still see them accurately. You can forgive someone and still change the access they have to your life. You can pray for someone without making your peace dependent on their decisions. Maybe the truth God is showing you is not meant to make you suspicious. Maybe it is meant to make you free. Free from analyzing every message. Free from needing one more explanation. Free from constantly asking whether you imagined what happened. Free from building your future around something that exists mostly in your hope. And if you have been praying for clarity, do not be surprised if clarity changes what you are able to tolerate. Sometimes the answer to, "God, show me the truth," is not a voice from heaven. It is the moment you can no longer call a pattern an exception. The moment the excuse stops working. The moment you notice what the relationship has been producing in you. The moment you become willing to see without immediately trying to fix what you see. That may be the light you asked for. And your responsibility is not to punish the other person. It is not to become bitter. It is not to expose them to everyone around you. It is simply to become honest about what is now in the light. If this is what God has been teaching you, type this in the comments. I will not ask God for clarity and then argue with what He shows me. Before you go, seeing the truth is one thing. Staying grounded in it when your emotions become loud again is another. The Still Point was created to help you practice that for 30 days, with scripture, reflection, prayer, and space to write, so you can slow down, bring what you are seeing before God, and stop making important decisions from fear or confusion. And if the nights are when your thoughts become the loudest, there is a complete audio version too, so you can close your eyes and listen. You can find the Still Point in the pinned comment or the first link in the description. Come walk those 30 days with me. You do not have to be afraid of what truth reveals, beloved. Anything God brings into the light can finally be placed in His hands.